Hi, thanks for joining us here on The Collectors. I'm Kent Lund, your host. Today we're going to talk about duck decoys and a book and a Point Mouillee hunting club and Nate Quillen decoys and Mason decoys. And my guest today is Jim Marsh, and Jim Marsh and his wife Barbara have written this book about Nate Quillen and duck hunting in Michigan. So thank you for being here, Jim. We really appreciate you coming to our show.
Well, thank you.
And these are beautiful decoys, folks. They're not your average decoy. So Jim, tell me about Nate Quillen.
He was born in 1831 in London, Ontario, and his family moved to Rockwood, Michigan about 1837. And he grew up on the edge of Point Mouillee when he was a kid. But his father joined the Army and was stationed at Green Bay, Wisconsin, and they were building a new fort there, and that's where he learned how to build boats and things. And his dad built a sailboat at Point Mouillee, and they would sail to Detroit to get provisions and cloth and stuff so he could make clothes for his kids.
This is over 100 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And these decoys are over 100 years old, I would guess, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you have one that's even pre-Civil War. We're going to get into that.
They're all over 100.
Yeah, all over 100. Wow, that's really something. So you've got two Nate Quillens in front of you there. This is absolute beauty. What's the situation or story on this one?
This is a Nate Quillen Drake pintail, and it's original paint, and it was used at the Point Mouillee Shooting Club, and it was branded from William L. Brown, and so was the hen, and he was president of the Chicago Shipbuilding Company.
So these guys would have, let's say he had a set of 25 or 50 or 36 duck decoys. He would brand them so everybody knew it was his decoys. They'd load them in a boat, go out and do a set, or a what do you call it?
Throw out your decoy, yeah.
Throw out your decoys, and if they're hollow, they're lightweight, so that was a premium. And so he carved beautiful, lightweight decoys.
Yes, well, these decoys have a quarter-inch bottom board on them, and they're all hollowed out. And they say that Nate Quillen pintail is his most graceful decoy.
It looks graceful to me.
And this is a pair that came from the same rig, and that's the hen.
This is the hen.
I think that is the finest hen in existence. I've never seen a better one.
It looks really nice, and what I really find interesting is the nuance of detail. There's just a little wing, top wing on here. The head shape is perfect. The tail is, it's just beautiful the way the tail's carved out, and it's got the bottom board on it, and it still has the lead weight.
Nate Quillen was known for his fine craftsmanship.
That's a beautiful decoy.
He was a cabinet maker. And he made boats, and he made punt paddles, and he made at least one shotgun.
Wow, he was an iron or steel worker, or he could use.
I don't know, but I have a shotgun that he made, and it says N. Quillen in the rib in silver.
And any idea when he would have made the shotgun?
I think around 1879, and it's got 37-inch barrels.
Wow!
And
reach out and touch me.
Yeah, and a gun collector bought it at a farm auction in Monroe County.
It was there all those years.
And it went to Toledo, and then I bought it from his nephew for my collection.
Jim, is there a decoy, Nate Quillen decoy, that you just stumbled on and you had no idea that was there, and you found it? Because sometimes the hunt and the discovery is really exciting.
Oh, sure. I bought a few like that.
Okay, good. That's fun.
One I bought out of the newspaper. There was selling a collection of decoys in Dearborn.
Okay.
And I went up to look at the decoys, and one of them was a Nate Quillen, and another guy came there, and he said, well, he called first, and I said, I only want the one. I said, you can have all the rest of them. Yep. I just want this one here. And the guy that was selling them says, well, that's the worst one. I said, well, that's the one I want.
Oh, boy, he didn't know. He didn't know. Now, we have another Nate Quillen here that you call, what do you call that style again?
Well, this is pretty rare. This little V under this is what they call a helmet head. And any of the Nate Quillen low heads
Yeah.
are desirable, but the low heads or the helmet heads, they only made just a few of them. And this one is branded from Point Mouillee. Henry H. Fay, he was from Boston. They came from Boston to hunt ducks, and he was only a member from 1894 to 1897. And it's also branded SJM, JM, for Samuel Mixture. He was a big surgeon, a very famous surgeon from Boston, and he would come to Point Mouillee and hunt ducks with his wife for a month every year.
This was a real exclusive club, wouldn't you say? At one, maybe not in the beginning, but it became a very exclusive club.
I
right?
think it was the most exclusive in the state. They only had 10 members at a time, and they had 2,600 acres to hunt in.
Okay.
And they had guides, or punters they called them. They had cooks and people to clean and handymen. They had watchmen to keep the poachers out.
Okay.
And it was quite an exclusive club.
And you said somebody, a couple of hunters would come there in Duesenbergs? Drive
Two of
there?
the members would come to, they lived in Michigan, would drive to Mouillee and hunt ducks and drive their Duesenbergs to the club. And then they would take a boat out to the 10-acre island where the club was.
Okay.
They had a clubhouse, and each member had a cottage, and they had boathouse. And it was a regular little village. They had a barn. They had cows for milk and chickens, and
Wow.
it was quite a thing.
Yeah, it sounds like a wonderful thing. So we've looked at these Nate Quillins. I know you. You're gonna show us how he hollowed his out, which made them kind of special because they were lightweight.
These low heads are his most desirable decoys. Collectors love these things. But this one's kind of a derelict that I found in Monroe, and it shows how he hollowed it out.
Yeah.
Way up into the head, and as gouge marks, and these are holes that he filled when somebody shot him.
Yeah.
And up in the head here, there's a couple of little holes that were patched. But he was quite a craftsman, and his decoys are all symmetrical, and they
they're
weren't
beautiful.
lopsided, and sometimes guys don't get the eyes right or whatever. But Nate Quillin is known for his superb craftsmanship.
You know, and I'd like to touch on that a minute. There's thousands of duck decoys all over America, in the St. Clair Flats and down where Nate was from. Not all decoys are really rare, beautiful decoys. Some are just you could make a lamp or use it for decoration. I don't want people to think that all these, because some of these decoys are quite valuable.
Oh yeah, my dad used to call some of them firewood.
I bet when it got cold and it's the only wood you had, you might use it, but thank God these didn't make the fire.
Well, I tell people, for every good collectible decoy, there's a whole truckload that aren't worth much.
Right, I get it. I understand that. Yeah.
The collectible ones are rare. And
Right.
Nate didn't, at his peak, he only made about 200 decoys a year.
Still, that's a lot.
And he was a commercial guy. He didn't he didn't make them just for himself. He made them for the club, and he also sold them for people that weren't members of the club. So
Okay.
most of them are branded, but not all of them.
Right, sure.
But-
That's a beautiful one. Now we have one. We have a decoy. It's not a Nate Quillin, right? But it's pre-Civil War.
Yes.
And that's a handsome decoy.
This one I bought from Barney Crandall. He was quite an author and wrote a lot of articles, did a lot of research, and it has a sticker on the bottom of it that he says that this decoy was made, one of the earliest decoys found on Lake St. Clair, and it was made in the 1850s.
Amazing.
Well, most decoys were made after the Civil War, and that's when these duck clubs evolved. There's very few duck clubs that were before the Civil War.
Okay.
But
What I love about that one is the head. It's slightly turned. I mean, it looks like it's alive. It's just beautifully done. The shapes.
and it's hollow where they cut it here.
So it's lightweight.
This is hollow.
And look at the tail. The tail shape is just magnificent.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
handsome-
I like the early decoys, and I went to a decoy show out over in Chicago, and Barney had this laying on his bed for sale, and we got to talking about
Wow.
it. And I liked early decoys, so I bought it from him.
Oh, it was a great find and a great buy. Really nice.
Yeah.
Now, some of the other decoys we have today that we're going to talk about are, are they called manufactured because they're made on a duplicating machine, I'm
Yes.
sure are they finished? Are they roughed in on the machine and then they were
A
finished?
duplicating lathe.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and Mason was the biggest manufacturer in the whole country.
And Detroit, he was in Detroit.
Detroit.
Or they were in Detroit.
Well,
yeah.
Detroit, there's a book out that's Detroit Decoy Dynasty, and it talks about Peterson decoys, it talks about Dodge decoys, and Mason decoys. And those are the three collectible manufactured decoys in the country.
Okay, and we have a Dodge and we have a Mason. We have a pair of Masons, right?
Yes, there's a pair of teal.
Now, not being a novice at this, was a teal a confidence decoy?
Oh no, they shot them.
They shot teal,
But
okay.
blue-wing teal was one of the first to migrate.
Oh, so that's why, okay.
And when the season opened, there would be a lot of teal around. If you get a good frost, the teal are gone.
Oh, okay.
They don't hang around. And the blue wings are one of the first. And this, they made them in different grades, but this is the challenge grade, and it's a double blue, and it's branded for John E. Newell.
Okay.
He bought his membership in Mouillee in 1910.
My gosh.
And he was a member till the end in 1945. And he used to hunt ducks with his chauffeur. He had a chauffeur that would drive him from Cleveland, and he would hunt ducks with his chauffeur. And I was
Boy,
doing
the world was a different place back then. I got to, geez, that's cool.
And my wife and I was doing research at the Western Reserve Library in
Oh.
Cleveland, and we found the receipt for this decoy and the other one.
And the provenance of a decoy is really important. When you find the real true story, who owned it, oh, it's wonderful, right?
Well, I like the brands and I like to do the research, and we've researched Mouillee for over 30 years, but some people don't care about the brands, but I do. And,
Yeah,
the receipt, a copy of the receipt is in our book.
Okay.
He bought a dozen mallards, 2 dozen canvasback, and 2 dozen challenge grade teal in 1910.
And how much did he pay for those? Bought from Mason?
$13 for 2 dozen.
I'll be darned. That's a lot of work. Carving,
$6.50 a dozen.
It's a beautifully shaped decoy, and that's
Yeah,
a
these are turned on a lathe.
nice finish too, original finish.
And then they had one step up from this, which was the
heard.
premier grade.
Premier grade, I've heard of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then they had the painted eye, glass eye, and tack eye
Okay.
versions. The glass eye was considered the Detroit grade.
Okay.
But Mason teal are very desirable collectibles.
Oh, I'm sure. All the Mason decoys that I've seen over the years are just handsome.
It's probably the most collectible decoy in the country. People from all over the country collect Masons.
And let me touch on this for a minute. When you're looking for decoys, obviously original finish is paramount. That's really important, and it changes the value or increases the value tremendously. Because some of them got repainted. I mean, they were beat up and laying in the bottom of a wet boat, and they were used for years. And then a guy would just get a paintbrush out and paint them. But the ones we have here are all original finish.
Yes.
And this is rare.
It is rare. And hunting ducks, you use your equipment hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys would paint them every year. And I've got some at home that my family decoys, my grandfather and my dad carved all our decoys that we hunted with, except the lowheads. When I was 11 years old in a sneak boat, my grandfather had 6 of these. We hunted with them for years and didn't know what they were.
Interesting, yeah. There was a span there where maybe you wouldn't know what these duck decoys were, or they weren't maybe important at the time.
Well,
They became more important as people started to collect them.
The club was dissolved in 1945.
Okay.
And I think my grandfather bought them in the late 40s. So that's when some of these club decoys came out.
Oh, they're handsome decoys. There's no doubt. The paint is magnificent.
And this is a scratch paint on this one, and very few of his lowheads are scratch paint. He had 3 paint schemes that he used.
Just to touch on this, there's several carvers, especially here in Michigan. Give me names of some other carvers.
Well, Ben Smith.
Ben and Frank Schmidt, right?
Yeah, you can't talk about Michigan decoys without talking about Ben Smith. He probably made, and he was a commercial guy. He sold decoys through J.L. Hudson's.
Well, I've heard that. I've heard Mason sold decoys through Hudson's, and he sold them. Okay.
Yeah, and he carved just about every species there is, and he would special order. The people would special order a decoy if they wanted something rare for him.
Sure.
From him. And Ben made fantastic decoys, and he's the one, I guess, that came out with a feather stamp, where he.
I've seen that. He puts it like so it recesses to make it look like a feather.
Yeah,
maybe a piece of iron that he shaped or something.
They were flat iron, and they were different sizes,
Yeah.
and he would hit them with a hammer to make the feathers.
Do you know how they tell the difference between a Frank Schmidt and a Ben Schmidt decoy? I've heard it. I wanted to see if it's true or not. Because
Well,
there's a lot of stories about duck decoys, and I just wondered if you had heard it.
Frank Schmidt wasn't as refined as Ben's.
Okay, this goes to the point. I was told that Frank didn't finish under the tail very often because it wasn't seen it, and maybe he's in a hurry or didn't care, and that's how one way to tell Frank from Ben. I thought.
Yeah, but Frank did use some feather stamps sometimes too,
Okay.
but most of the time he didn't.
Okay.
But and there was guys up north, up in.
Saginaw Bay probably.
Oh yeah, there were Saginaw Bay carvers. I can't think of it. And Michigan carvers, and different areas have different decoys. Like
Yeah.
Mount Clemens, a lot of the carvers use balsa wood.
Now, is it true that they might have gotten the balsa wood from Chris Craft because he was making flotation devices for World War II?
That could have been.
Okay.
The decoy carvers in Toledo used a lot of cork, and they got them out of the train cars that were refrigerated.
Oh,
And-
refrigerated. That was the insulation.
Insulation. And Enright was the most famous carver in Toledo. He used a lot of cork. And if you get a famous carver in an area, then some people copy them.
Okay.
And they influence other people. But
And then 50 years later, sometimes it's hard to tell if it was a copy or it's original, and of course that affects value.
well, Ben Smith decoys
Desirability.
were so popular,
Yeah.
a lot of carvers copied them, and they even gave classes in high school, night school, to carve a Ben Smith decoy. So it's hard to tell, for me, a real Ben Smith from a lookalike.
Sure. Now, I just happened to think of this. Now, I know there's goose hunters, and some of these guys might have carved geese, or didn't they not? Did Nate Quillen carve geese ever, or for any reason that you can think of?
Well, I don't think so.
Okay.
There was a rig of decoys found years ago, and they originally claimed that they were Nate Quillen, but I don't think so.
Okay.
Some people do. But they were never found at Point Mouillee.
Okay.
They were never branded. And if you pick one up and hold it, the workmanship just isn't there.
Okay.
They were a lot more crude. So, and I talked with, for our book, Ed Lezat from Rockwood. He was a punter from 1924 to 1945, and he knew more about Nate Quillen than any of the decoys anybody in my lifetime, and he never seen any either, or heard of any.
Okay.
But they were found up in the thumb, too.
Oh, okay. So people traveled. They took their rigs with them and
Oh,
hunted
sure.
different areas.
It
and
could
so
have
on.
been.
Sure.
And not all Nate Quillens are branded.
Okay. I know the guys in the club, would they show up with their decoys, they'd be branded so that everybody knew that was my decoy, or that's my decoys. They must have had lockers or storage areas where they kept, because they wouldn't drag them from Chicago or Boston to the club. They would keep them in a storage area, or
Each member had a boathouse.
they each had a boathouse. Okay.
Yeah, right on the back side of the marsh side of the club.
Okay.
The front side of the club was on the lake. So they all had a boathouse, and they would keep their boats and all their decoys in there. And the members didn't brand them. The punters did. The punters did all that work.
They did all the work. Now, I've heard that a lot of Michigan ducks ended up on dinner tables or restaurants in Chicago, New York, and so on. You mentioned even the King of England or somewhere.
Soapy Williams, Governor G. Menon Williams, grandfather was a Phillips, and he was a wild game dealer in Detroit, and he sold wild game. And some of the canvasbacks, that was the best eating duck at the time, it ended up at the White House and Buckingham Palace.
Wow, all the way from Michigan.
From
That's
Michigan.
So these were market hunters.
Oh yeah,
Was there punt hunters in St. Clair Flats or downriver?
with punt guns.
Punt guns, yeah.
Yes, there was a punt gun used on Mouillee Marsh,
Okay.
and there was one used up in Gibraltar, which was the Wyman gun, and it wasn't used at the club, and it was both of them were early guns. They were flintlocks.
Oh my gosh, that's really early.
That's really early.
And describe how a market hunter would work. Wasn't it mounted on his boat?
Yes.
Okay, and how did that? And it was.
It originated in England
In England, okay.
by Colonel Peter Hawker.
Okay.
He developed a punt gun, and actually I shot one at the Point Mouillee Waterfowl Festival. I have a few, but
Okay.
anyway, you put this big gun in a boat about 9 feet long, 1.5-inch bore, and it would shoot maybe 3/4 pound a shot.
Wow.
And you would sneak up on the ducks, and sometimes at night, and they used punt guns mostly in the Chesapeake Bay area. But there was a few in Michigan, but Michigan was one of the first states to outlaw punt guns after the Civil War.
And let's talk about that for a minute. The laws back in the 1800s compared to now. What could you do in the 1800s to hunt ducks?
Anything.
That's right.
The first game warden in Michigan was 1887.
Okay.
And they hunted ducks in the spring, which you can't do now.
Oh, yeah.
And they fed ducks corn, that you can't do now. They didn't have limits. The first limit in Michigan was 25. And that was
1925.
after the turn of the century.
Yeah, wow, okay.
You could hunt ducks whatever you wanted. But the members of Mouillee, they were limited to only shoot double barrels. They couldn't shoot pumps, and some of the pumps and automatics would shoot like 6-7 rounds with extended magazines.
Right.
And they were never allowed to use outboard motors at Mouillee.
They're all rowing, and that's where the punt guy comes in.
Yeah.
He's taken the sport out to the hunt, kind of. When did Point Mouillee close? Or it closed in 45, and what happened to the property? The
The state of Michigan bought it
Okay.
as the first game area on the Great Lakes.
Okay.
And it's still going on. And they had the largest marsh restoration project in the world is at Point Mouillee when they built a big banana, because the original marsh all washed away from the wave action and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And part of the problem that devastated Point Mouillee was the dams on the Huron River. They built a lot of dams on the Huron River, and all that sediment wasn't coming down and making a delta at Point Mouillee anymore.
Oh, I see. I'll see.
And then the wave action,
We've got one duck,
yeah.
a mallard up there,
Yes, this is kind of a rare.
again with a tilted head. I like that.
Yeah, this was Dodge Company.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that. The Dodge family, one of the Dodge family members, had a company making decoys.
No,
No, okay,
it was Jasper Dodge,
okay.
and he wasn't related to the cars.
Oh gosh, that kills my whole story. Okay.
But anyway, Dodge made decoys from 1883 to 1884. But this was made about 1885.
Jeez, that is a rare piece, man.
And he cut it. You can see how it's cut here. It's kind of wavy, and they would cut the top part off, and then they would take the bandsaw. You could see where they
Saw marks and
saw
opened it
mark,
up.
and they sawed all the way around the inside.
Mm.
And took the inside out and put the top back on, and then put a bottom board on it, so it's hollow.
All the carvers were creative. They all had their own way. Some did all the same, but a lot of guys had their own techniques for making them light and carving them and so on.
But
What do you suppose that's made out of? Is that cedar, maybe?
Oh, most decoys are made
Cedar.
of
It's
cedar.
lightweight
Yeah.
wood. It's very plentiful.
Nate Quillen made the decoy and the head out of cedar.
Okay.
And some of these are white pine, might be cedar.
I know I've seen a lot of really nice decoys, and because the bill is delicate, it gets cracked or broken off. I've seen that also, and
Oh, yeah.
especially after 100 years. Oh, my gosh.
And you know what else got bills? Puppies. Somebody had a puppy. Puppies love to chew on decoy bills.
Boy, I'd be pretty upset with my puppy.
I've seen a lot of decoys that were puppy chewed.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Well, Jim, I'm fascinated by your decoys. They're fabulous, and I think you mentioned that there was an auction in Chicago not long ago. Tell me about that.
This is the catalog.
Okay.
They sold almost $10 million worth of decoys.
7/8 of an inch thick. How much?
Almost $10 million worth of decoys they sold just a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And the first decoy sold broke a world record. It sold for $1.2 million. And the second decoy sold for $1.1 million. And they were both from Massachusetts.
Yeah, I know the East Coast had some famous carvers in the East Coast for sure, in the Chesapeake Bay area for sure. But we had a serious duck hunting here in Michigan. So.
Oh, yeah. And Michigan had a lot of good carvers.
Yes,
they
they
had
did.
a lot of good carvers.
Yes, they did.
And the decoy factories made some great decoys. And Mason's the most collectible decoy in the country.
Yeah, they probably made so many. Well, Jim, I wanted to thank you for educating us about Nate Quillen and duck hunting in general, and give a little plug for your book here. Great story. I've looked at it. It's got some great pictures and some real history. And Jim, I want to thank you for joining us here on The Collectors today. If anybody has any questions for you or myself, they can reach me at kentlund@gmail.com. Thank you.